Man, that was tough because I was pleased with our guys' effort for 40 minutes. I thought they played hard. Being short-handed again tonight, Justin Porter ends up playing 40 minutes. Elias at almost 38, 34 for Jared, 31 for this guy right here. I just thought we played hard and tough. The first few minutes of the game, they got out to a 9-0 run where they're just a tough physical group. You can see how they play. You can see the bodies that they have and quickly get a sense of their style of play. First time I'm sure that most of the folks in the stands got a chance to see Sam Houston play. It's obviously the first time we've ever played them, Middle Tennessee. And they're tough. But it came down to execution. On that side, I thought we were really good for most of the game. At halftime we had 4 turnovers, 5 assists. We end up with 11 turnovers. And out of those 7, 11's not a bad number. There were about 3 over the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game. A couple defensive breakdowns on communication on the other end. And that was really the difference. A couple of defensive lapses and a couple of empty possessions. Similar to the other night, our guys continued to guard, held another team to 35% from the floor. With that kind of effort, you usually expect the results to be in the right column. I told our team I think we continued to grow. We're getting better. You look at the numbers and you would say that we're struggling the same. We're not struggling the same way offensively that we were a month ago. We're still not shooting it well, but we're getting cleaner looks. Guys are executing plays and getting looks out of set plays, out of offense. We just got to execute better late game.
What was the overall philosophy for handling the screening on the defensive end, and how did that sort of change? Our defensive philosophy, and then how did that sort of change in the last 2 minutes where they were able to get some drives?
It didn't change. The defensive philosophy was basically, to be able to keep them in front of us, we were switching anything outside of their center setting the screen. We were switching all on-ball action, anything that was close. We had the play coming out of a timeout. They threw the ball to the elbow and kind of ghosted it, and both guys went with the guy running through, left the ball, they get an and one. We were trying to send the ball a particular way on the middle ball screen involving their center, and he was able to use it the other direction. Well, your help isn't over there. Your help is expecting you to force it one direction. And when the ball gets going the other way, there's not built-in help over there. And so it's those mishaps that, particularly late game, they are glaring. They're not quite as glaring with 17 minutes to go in the game or 12 minutes to go to halftime. When it's a tie game with 3 to go, you got to get those right. And I told our team, it wasn't just one thing. We went to the free throw line. Our last 3 trips, we were 1 for 2, 1 for 2, 1 for 2. We had a couple of late game turnovers and then a couple of mishaps. That was really the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game.
You talk about those late game execution errors. Do you think that's maybe kind of a mental thing, or is that something that is more like basketball related?
I think my college coach used to say all the time, fatigue makes cowards of us all. That was his statement. And I thought we looked a little fatigued, and usually when you start to get physically fatigued, you've got to really check yourself, remind yourself to really amp it up mentally. You've got to fight that physical fatigue. Obviously, it's hard to get him out or any of the other guys out with several guys out with injuries. So I used a timeout with about 5.5 to go. That was the first of the second half, so I knew it would be a full. and it was really to rest these guys for down the stretch. So we had the 8-minute media, the full at 5.5, and a 4-minute media to try to help fight the fatigue. And we just made some mental errors.
JB, I think at one point in the first half, it was a 22-9 rebounding advantage for Sam Houston. Rest of the way, y'all were able to out-rebound them by 3. What did y'all adjust, and what can y'all do better from the jump to prevent that sort of lopsidedness early rebounding?
I feel like we cannot let it shock us. Coaching them told us to beware, like they got a couple guys that crash the old boy hard, and sometimes you listen to that, not saying that we don't listen, but sometimes you listen to that and it kind of, okay, I'm going to block out. But it has to be at the front of your mind, like when this shot goes up, I have to find a body, especially this certain guy. So I feel like we just need to tune in to like listening to just keeping things on the front of your mind. Don't just let it sink in. Just keep it on the front of your mind so we can just stay locked in.
Nicholas, when it was 22-9, Nicholas had 9 himself, and 5 of them were offensive rebounds. He ended up with 2 more the rest of the game. He came in averaging 3 offensive rebounds pretty much. So we knew he was aggressive, but he was really aggressive, and to the point I was making earlier, that it took us too long to counter it.
JP, when was the last time that you've played 40 minutes in a whole game?
Probably since high school, I believe.
This 32-minute game.
Well, JUCO. I'll say JUCO.
Well, what do you have to do? Because I know with Jay now, you're preparing for those extra minutes. What do you have to do, in the week to get ready for that?
Just staying consistent in the gym and just making sure I'm hydrated.
Nick, only 6 3-point attempts in that second half. Was that more of a philosophy change, let's attack the rim, or was that them kind of taking away those open shots?
Kind of taking away the open shots. We just want to make sure our guys are taking shots that they practice and that we practice. They were starting to get more aggressive on the line. JP had made several there early in the game. I think 3 of his 4 came in about the first 10 minutes. And then they started switching up how they were guarding our middle ball screen. They were kind of in drop coverage. So when he used it, the big was 5, 6, 7 feet off of him. Later, they started having him, show a little bit on that ball screen. So the come off 3 wasn't there as much. And so we started getting downhill.
Back-to-back conference game to start conference play where you played well for, three-fourths of the game. You know, like you said, the box score would look like you won, but you've got to feel like you're at least close right now, right?
Great point, Calvin. It's almost as like you were sitting in the locker room. That's exactly what I said to them. I said, you've got to see just how close you are to being 2-0. The other night against La Tech, again here tonight, they end up 8 and 9 point games, but anybody that watched the game knows it was nip-tuck the whole game, and then late you're fouling or they make a shot. But they're real tight games, and we're not shooting well. And so I told them it just goes to show how hard you're playing, but also how well you're executing for about 35 minutes. And I also showed the team the standings. Obviously Jacksonville State got beat earlier. Had we won that game, you got a whole big list of teams with 1 loss. And so you're a couple of buckets away from being tied with the team in first in the loss column. And so keeping process oriented is important. Their effort continues to be good. When our execution can match for 40 minutes, we'll start seeing the results.
Do you have an expected timetable on Jalen Jordan right now?
Sorry.
I thought
to expect
injury timeline on Jalen Jordan right now?
Don't know. We'll see. Don't know.